Brittney Griner is, in fact, a man. One of the videos that give us cause to say that is this video. It is from her Instagram stories from years and years ago. And when it comes to Instagram, they use a combination of like AI detection and plus manual surveyors to make sure that no explicit content ends up on the platform. So clearly whatever AI detection system was used when Brittney posted this and it stayed up for 106 weeks was not like, oh, this is a female chest, we have to take this down. Oftentimes, if breast cancer runs in a family, women will preemptively get like double mastectomies. And there are some great surgeons out there, don't get me wrong, but I don't see any scars on Brittney's chest that would be indicative of a double mastectomy or top surgery for gender transition.
Hey everyone. Today, we're diving into a story that has sparked major discussion across the WNBA community. Reports and online claims have been circulating about Sophie Cunningham and alleged DNA evidence connected to Brittney Griner, leading to a wave of reactions from fans and basketball followers. But what is the real story behind these claims? What information is actually available? And why has this topic attracted so much attention? Stay with us as we break down the details and explore everything you need to know about this developing controversy. Let's get straight into it. A teenage girl's pro Sophie Cunningham sign reportedly caused the Seattle Storm owner to confront her, and the young fan was left in tears after being told to put the sign away. That is the story that has been spreading across basketball Twitter over the past 2 days. This is not just another exaggerated online rumor. The truth about what reportedly happened courtside in Seattle is even more surprising than the headline suggests. And it says far more about the current state of the league than the result of a single game ever could. If you're enjoying this content, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Believe it or not, more than 90% of our viewers still haven't subscribed. It's completely free, only takes a second, and it truly helps support the channel. Have you subscribed yet? If you have, thank you so much for your support. Now, let's get back to the story.
Like that, and then she told us that we were effing insane,
and she's like, and she went like this.
Insane. Yeah.
She's like, you better stop this
and stop pulling
shit.
this. Yeah,
and
for you guys
I
to
hope
come
God
here
can
and
save
pull
you.
This. Yeah,
she said for you to come here and pull this shit.
Yeah,
she said the word.
Yeah.
Did she say effing insane or the fucking
no?
insane?
She said the word.
And nobody around you spoke up for you.
No.
So, I will say, Annalie, when I came over, you were in tears.
Yeah, I've never been yelled at like that. I mean, I've had people hate on me on the internet, but like it doesn't really affect me as much because it's just people online. But that just took me by surprise because I thought she was gonna be nice, and then she started like screaming at us.
At a WNBA game, a teenage girl brought a sign with her. It wasn't offensive, it didn't target anyone, and it didn't mention a single player by name. The sign simply thanked Sophie Cunningham for speaking up in support of female athletes. During the game, a Seattle Storm co-owner reportedly approached the girl and told her to put the sign away. According to fans who were sitting nearby, the situation unfolded in front of a completely sold-out crowd. By the time it ended, security had reportedly been called, and the young girl was left in tears. Take a moment to think about that. At a professional basketball game, a grown adult, who is part owner of a professional sports team, reportedly confronted a child simply because she was holding a sign supporting a player she admired.
That story with ESPN, you talked about wanting to protect young girls who shouldn't have to go against biological men. Just can you expand your viewpoint on that?
I mean, I think I said what I said. I think it's kind of common sense. And I think I'll always believe in that. I think it's really important to protect children, and that's little girls who are also involved in that category. And so I stand on what I said, and I always believe that.
Yeah, do you see your advocacy on that, like taking any form going forward?
You know, I don't know. I'm not a very political person, but I do have beliefs. I have morals, and I'll always stand on those and be true to who I am. And I think people are going to take it how they want to take it, but I've never even really said anything about that. And so when it comes just to protecting young girls in sport and women in sport, I feel very strongly about that. I think that's why you have Title IX. That's why you have some of the greats in women's sports. If Title IX and women's sports weren't protected, then you wouldn't hear about any type of women in sport. And so I think in the future, it's just really important to protect.
Do you think, I guess, along the line like that, it goes against perhaps, some people might say, hey, for the trans community, this could be something that could come back on us or be targeted against us. Like, how do you, I guess, view that sort of critique?
Like I said, I extend love, and I don't dislike anyone. Like, I think there is room for absolutely everyone here, and I think there's room to love everyone.
A few weeks earlier, Sophie Cunningham was asked directly about protecting women's sports during an ESPN interview. She didn't try to avoid the question or soften her response to make it sound safer. Instead, she answered clearly and said that she wants to protect young girls in locker rooms, that they should not have to compete against biological males, and that she will continue to stand by that belief no matter how people respond.
How the left is completely intolerant and the actual hateful ones. This woman is not an owner of a basketball team. She's an owner of a left-wing, radical, political activist group that happens to play basketball. Because this team has endorsed Kamala Harris for president. They have promoted trans rights on their website and their merchandise. And clearly they hold a double standard and allow people to hold signs like this, but belittle young girls that support their sports remaining female. I don't expect them to do this, but I would really like to see the WNBA protect and stand up for fans just like these two young girls from hate and intolerance.
That response did not include any insults or personal attacks. She did not criticize or call out any specific person, whether it was an opponent, a teammate, or anyone else. It was simply a direct answer to a direct question, delivered in a calm and respectful way that sounded well thought out rather than something said in the heat of the moment. However, in this league, the context around certain topics rarely stays neutral for long. So even if Sophie never mentioned anyone by name, many people quickly connected her comments to a specific individual.
It's been so fun. I played with BG for 6 years, and so I know her like the back of my hand, and as of late, she's been playing really good. She's been playing like OG Brittney. I'm there to love, but I'm also there to love biological women, and I think that there are rights that need to be protected, and like I said, I'm going to stand true to that. I'll never falter in my beliefs in that, but I have never once said I hated the trans community. Like I said, I think there's space for everyone.
If you've watched any of the Fever's games against the Connecticut Sun this season, you probably already know who many fans connected those comments to. Over the past 3 seasons, Brittney Griner and Caitlin Clark have been at the center of a tense on-court rivalry, with disputed physical plays, moments that sparked debate among fans, and officiating decisions that many viewers felt were handled differently whenever the two were involved. One incident from the previous season is still being analyzed by fans frame by frame. So when Cunningham, Clark's closest teammate and one of her strongest defenders, stood up and said that men should not be competing in women's sports, many fans felt they already understood who her comments were being linked to. For much of the audience, the timing alone was enough to make that connection.
Fans at the game booed Cunningham when she checked into the game. One Seattle Storm player even showed up pre-game wearing a shirt that read, "Trans rights are human rights." After the game, Storm coach Sonia Rahman was asked about the situation.
Seattle and this organization and Climate Pledge, we always want to be an area where people feel welcome coming into this building. I think we've always done a really good job with that. So I know our organization was, working closely with Climate Pledge and with security to just make sure that, everybody feels safe and included and welcome when they walk in this door. And from what I understand that.
The idea that Cunningham's comments were aimed specifically at her has never been confirmed by Brittney Griner. However, in a separate interview a few days before this situation gained widespread attention, Griner did say that playing against Cunningham is extremely frustrating, while also making it clear that she would always stand by her own teammates. People can interpret those remarks however they choose. What is clear, though, is that the online reaction to Cunningham's comments was anything but small, and it did not stay quiet for very long.
Have Sophie Cunningham, a female athlete herself, very accomplished in her own right, coming forth and speaking that truth that men shouldn't play in women's sports. We want to protect women and girls, and the backlash she is receiving from Democrats and left-wing thinkers across the country is a...
Within about 48 hours, the story was everywhere. USA Today covered it. ESPN discussed parts of it across several of its programs the next morning, and Fox News dedicated an entire national segment to it. Whether the league welcomed the attention or not, the White House press secretary also publicly stated that Cunningham was on the side of an issue that many Americans already agree with. That is a remarkable level of attention for a WNBA role player simply answering a single question during a feature interview. At that point, the conversation had grown far beyond basketball and turned into a national debate. What makes it even more notable is that Sophie never asked for any of the attention to unfold the way it did.
Enough. This notion that you're hating on the trans community because you are not a proponent of them participating in female sports is utterly ridiculous. Sophie Cunningham said every word right on the money. There's no hate involved. There's only love we're talking about. But what happened to loving girls who are born biologically as girls? What about their rights? What about fairness associated to them? Leah Thomas, I'm going to keep bringing that name up. 400 plus in the world competing as a male. Transitions to female, and he was #1. If we're going to act like transitioning from male to female doesn't involve an advantage for that trans athlete, I have nothing to say to you. You're not exercising.
What people should really pay attention to is what she did next, because that is what many believe sets her apart from almost every other athlete who has faced a similar situation. A few days later, reporters came back with more questions, clearly expecting her to soften her comments, clarify them in a different way, or completely walk them back. She did none of those things. Instead, she repeated her position almost word for word, while also making it clear that she does not hate anyone and truly believes there is room for everyone. At the same time, she said she would not change her personal beliefs simply because a group of people wanted her to. That is not the behavior of someone looking to create controversy for attention. It is the response of someone who was asked a fair question, answered it honestly, and when the pressure increased, chose not to act as though she never meant what she said.
Out last week and talks about her beliefs, which I do think is very rare, especially being as young as she is, and quite honestly being brave to share something she knows is going to get picked apart a million times, and then standing by it. That's refreshing, especially from a young woman.
That brings us to Seattle, where the situation reportedly shifted from being an online debate to something that unfolded in front of real people at a live game involving a young fan. On paper, Tuesday night's game between the Indiana Fever and the Seattle Storm should have been focused only on basketball. Before tip-off, a modest crowd gathered outside Climate Pledge Arena. Some people came to show their support for Cunningham, while others were there to support a Washington ballot measure that has been gaining attention across the state regarding fairness in girls' athletics. Some wore clothing displaying the XX and XY symbols, while others carried signs. According to the reports, the signs were not directed at any specific Storm player. Instead, they reflected a broader conversation surrounding Cunningham, the public discussion that followed her earlier comments, and an ongoing policy debate that has continued to grow over time.
Covering your sign.
According to reports, 2 supporters entered the arena and took courtside seats while holding a banner thanking Cunningham for standing up for girls. Brandy Cruz of Undivided, who later spoke directly with them, said the pair claimed that a woman approached them during the game, called them completely crazy, and then had security remove them from their seats. The woman was later identified by people in attendance as Celeste Caton, a minority owner of the Seattle Storm. One of the supporters said the situation escalated so quickly that what began as a normal night at a basketball game turned into a personal and emotional confrontation, leaving her in tears before the incident was even over.
Like, we love Sophie. Like, thank you, Sophie, for speaking up. And so we were holding on, just watching the game. Again, like, we were being super great. We hadn't said anything to anyone else. We were being super respectful. We were just holding our signs and cheering for both teams. And this lady, older lady, comes up to us. And she comes up to us. And at first, I think she's going to be nice. And then she asks, like, what are you guys doing? Something like that. And then it was like, Jesus loves everyone. That's what she told us. And I was like, oh, I know. Like, I'm religious. Like, I know. Like, I know.
Nice.
Yeah. And she's like, oh, I hope Jesus can forgive you for what sin you've done. And, like, something like that. And then she told us that we were effing insane.
And she's like, and she went like this.
Insane.
Yeah.
She's like, you better stop this.
And stop pulling
shit.
this. Yeah.
Now think about the imbalance at the center of this entire situation. Outside the arena, people with different opinions on the issue gathered to peacefully express their views. According to the reports, no one from either side crossed over to confront the other or tried to stop anyone from sharing their opinion. Everyone had the freedom to be there and express their views. However, according to those same reports, a co-owner of the home team confronted a teenage fan inside the arena who was quietly holding a thank you sign supporting a player from the visiting team and told the fan to put it away in front of thousands of people in attendance.
Yeah. We are winning our wheel. I had this crazy idea on Thursday that I wanted to support Sophie. We've gone all around California supporting female athletes, and I just said, we can go to Seattle and we can support female athletes. And Brandy was right there ready to help us, and thank you all for showing up. We just have simple belief that women are adult human females, and women deserve their own female-only sports and spaces, especially prisons and domestic violence shelters.
Yes.
We are 180.
Here is the obvious question to ask yourself. If a shirt displaying a political message on one side of the debate is welcomed with applause from the crowd, but a sign that simply says, "Thank you for speaking up for girls," is enough for a fan to be confronted by team ownership, what does that really say about the current state of the organization? The sign was not disrespectful, and it did not target or mention any Seattle Storm player. It simply expressed support for Sophie Cunningham. In response to the incident, majority owner Jenny Gilder released a statement saying, "Everyone who attends a Storm game deserves to feel welcome regardless of what they believe," while acknowledging that a co-owner had spoken to two fans and offering an apology. However, many people noticed what the statement did not address. It did not mention Catan by name. It did not explain exactly what was said to the fans during the incident, and it did not clarify whether there would be any real accountability beyond the public statement or why a co-owner felt it was appropriate to confront paying fans over a sign in the first place. To many observers, the statement sounded more like an attempt to move past a difficult story than a full explanation of what reportedly happened that night.
Look, I literally just left CrossFit, don't have any recording material here, but breaking news, Storm co-owner Celeste Keaton was fined and suspended from attending the next 5 home games of the Seattle Storm following the incident with Fever fans last night, in which she made a comment about one of their players' supporters. That came directly from the league. So that's the latest on this developing story. So there it is.
When you remove all the surrounding noise, this is really the heart of the entire story. According to this perspective, none of what followed was something Sophie Cunningham sought out. She gave an honest answer to a question, stood by that answer when she was asked about it again, and then reportedly saw a teenage supporter treated as if she were a problem simply for publicly expressing support. At a basketball game, many believe a team owner should not confront or yell at a fan because of a shirt or a sign, regardless of which side of the issue that fan supports. From this point of view, The fact that the reported incident involves supporters of Cunningham has led some people to question whether tolerance is applied equally across every viewpoint within parts of the league.
Down and Sophie Cunningham was quoted as saying, "I want to protect young girls in a locker room or young girls in sports who shouldn't have to go against biological men." Megan Rapinoe is such a fucking bird. Like, she's such a fucking bird. Biological men should not be playing in sports with biological men, period. End of discussion. It shouldn't be controversial. It shouldn't be a cause for debate. It shouldn't be labeled transphobia because you don't want to have to compete with people who were born biological men and have biological advantages that women will never have and never be able to have for the rest of their life. I always ask the question, why do we never see like biological women transitioning to be men and playing in men's sports? Why? Why don't we ever see that? Why is it always biological men transitioning to women and coming over to play with?
According to this perspective, the situation also did not happen in isolation, which is one reason it spread so quickly. It came about roughly a week after another WNBA player reportedly saw her playing time reduced shortly after comments she made about protecting women's sports began drawing attention across the league. Some people pointed to the timing and questioned whether there was a connection. There were no official statements confirming anything, only subtle changes, unclear decisions, and situations that many fans felt were difficult to prove with certainty. From this viewpoint, no one has to openly say anything inside a locker room. Instead, some believe that small actions and quiet decisions can send a message that everyone watching the league is expected to understand.
Trans people live. Nobody has a problem with trans people and what they do on their own time. It's just in regards to what Sophie said is when it comes to sports. Women, biological women should play sports against biological women. Men should play against men because the simple reason for it is because scientifically just men are stronger, faster, bigger.
Because of the incident in Seattle, many people online have continued asking why the WNBA appears to accept almost every point of view except Cunningham's. Supporters argue that her comments were not especially extreme. They believe that calling for fair competition and the protection of girls' sports is not a fringe opinion, and they point to polling that they say shows many Americans share that view. From this perspective, some feel that calmly and honestly expressing that opinion without attacking or naming anyone can still make a person a target in certain parts of the league. Cunningham has already been asked about her comments more than once in front of reporters, and many believe those follow-up questions were intended to encourage a different answer. Instead, she repeated her position almost word for word rather than offering a softer or more carefully worded version of what she believes, whether it involves a coaching staff member reportedly reducing a player's minutes or a team co-owner allegedly approaching an emotional teenage fan and telling her to put away her sign in front of a packed arena. Many believe the focus has now grown beyond Sophie Cunningham herself. The bigger question, according to those critics, is whether the league and its individual teams will continue to treat her supporters differently from others, or whether Wednesday's carefully worded apology will be enough to put this controversy behind them, before another similar situation eventually brings the debate back into the spotlight. Additionally,